It's daily deposits with physical health. It doesn't have to be you have to run a half marathon for lunch and then run an ultra marathon for dinner, then lift 100 pounds. No, this doesn't have to be that extreme. It's just daily deposits of being consistently good and just doing things for where you're at personally. Because you might see person B doing all this other stuff and like, oh, I want to get that 1 point, which you can and you can, and then some, in your own right. But at the same time, people are impatient. They don't want to wait. They want to get shredded in 30 days. They want to lose weight in an hour, and that leads to unhealthy habits and honestly eating disorders. People, they want to do things the unsustainable route and they end up doing it the unsustainable route, and they end up screwing themselves up because they wanted the short fix instead of the long-term game. Hi y'all, so back on here in that episode of Indigo Podcast, and today the title of this episode is the 5 key pillars of health and how to optimize and prioritize them. So obviously I'm gonna start with a little bit of an introduction. What are the 5 pillars of optimal health? Now, this may be subjective to some, but personally, this is what I think the 5 pillars of optimal health is. So this is kind of a general sense of what I think they are. So I'll just kind of go over them real quick. So the first one I'm gonna go over is physical health. So you would think, diet, supplementation, fitness/training, sleep, and other recovery methods such as, hot and cold contrast, stretching, mobility, all that fun jazz, stuff like that. That's basically the overall just the physical health. Then the second one I got is mental and emotional health. So I want to tie these two together since they're very proportional to each other. So pretty much this is your ability to compartmentalize. That was a hard word for me. That's a big boy word right there. Compartmentalize both your own and others' emotions, thoughts, which ultimately leads to your own actions. Other than physical health, I would say this is the main pillar, but I ain't gonna lie, as I was writing this, number 3, stress management, which I noted here. I actually think this is the main pillar that, honestly, I feel like I've missed the most, and I feel like a lot of people miss and neglect this just because, in society, everybody's like kind of in a go mindset, because people like, I guess the climate of the economy, I don't even know what's gonna go down, but, people want to make money, understandable. People want to be stable, but I feel like at the same time, a lot of people work a lot, but I feel like you should recover as hard as you work, in my opinion. But this deals with anxiety, internal and possibly even external pressures, just stigmas that society may have. Critical decision making, that's a big one, which I'll kind of get into a bit later. And then the ability to take 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward. I feel like that's a big thing in terms of stress. Because I think the biggest thing with stress, what I'll get into, is not burning out, but staying consistently good, but for a long period of time, not just a short period of time. Fourth thing, the 4th pillar I have here, just to give a little context to this, social health. So having other like-minded people to talk to and who focus on optimism instead of pessimism. Because a lot of people, honestly, are just negative. They look at the most negative outcome or scenario that could take place instead of what if maybe I'll succeed, what if I'll get the new job promotion, et cetera, et cetera. And just people who you can talk to in life is the fan, and people who you can die of laughter. I have a few people like that, so I really appreciate them. People that support you, you support them. And, when it's time to laugh or when stuff is hard, you could get on the phone crying and, they won't freak out. They'll know how to talk to you. 5th thing, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have too much of explanation or detail for this pillar, but spiritual health, I think this is a big one too. Either faith, religion, or the idea of a higher power and other spiritual beings that are watching you. Because I feel like, our loved ones, they watch us. I feel like there's a life other than when you die. Like, I feel like it's not just black. That's what I think. I think a lot of spirits roam around and, they kind of see what you're doing. Now, I'm not trying to get all supernatural on here, but, that's my personal belief. If you're Christian, Muslim, I feel like I'll say later, I feel like it's all overarching theme. And, just because it's different, just like different diets, they're all different, but they all have the same overarching theme and principles. So anyway, I'm going to get into each one and kind of give a debrief of each section in depth. So first one, obviously, physical health. So without taking care of your dietary habits, training, and recovery, I do not think, and I know from personal experience, that you can fully show up as the best version of yourself for yourself personally, those around you, and your future relatives and your children. Honestly, I feel like I've really needed, the physical side of things, like, training, like especially recently, because I'm not gonna lie, like I said, I don't think I might have said this, but I feel like 2025 has been the hardest year for me mentally, in my opinion. 2021 and 2020, that low period is a close second. I remember. I get into that on the next part. But anyway, I just realized, like, even today, like, I went on a 4 mile run, and lately I've been lifting in the morning and running after school because we've been having practice after school, like track practice, whatever. So I ran with Zachariah, I ran with Ishmael, and I ran with Diego, my friends. And honestly, we were just talking the whole time. And normally, I would be like, oh, I'm gonna run on my own. I'd do this on my own. But I'm realizing, like, that's like, I feel like that's like the main thing that's really making me happy right now. Just because, during track period, my coach kind of announced the whole award thing, and like everybody's so supportive. I'm like, it's just, it really makes you like realize that, like, dang, like, this is a little bit off topic, but I feel like with physical health, like, it helps you interact with other people, and y'all are both getting after at the same time. But I feel like it's such like, especially with athletics, it's such a supportive, well, not all, but like, at least with track, for me, like, it's such, like, it's a family, like, it's a brotherhood, or a womanhood or whatever, just a collective of people that are doing similar things. And I just think it can bring joy and happiness, and it can bring experiences that you never thought you would experience. But anyway, I'm gonna get more into physical health, but I just feel like physical health is deeper than that. I feel like I say later in this, they're all woven together. They're all very connected. They're very interconnected. So I just think without physical health, you might not have the most optimal mental health. So I feel like, when you're taking care of your physical health with people, like-minded people, it brings joy and brings gratitude out of you. But anyway, I feel like physical health is, I think, a lot of people in America, obesity rates are very high here. I feel like this is the part most people miss because they're subject to hyper palatable, convenient, and the easy nature of stopping by, McDonald's, Pizza Hut, instead of making the time to make a more nutrient dense and health promoting meal. Because, a lot of people have jobs. I understand people have kids and they feel like they don't have the time, but you will never have the time if you're just looking for it. You have to carve out time in your calendar or your schedule or a Google spreadsheet or whatever you have to do to make the time. So, like, this morning, for example, I normally don't wake up this early, but I woke up at 4:15, and then I went to the gym, and then I went to the store because I didn't really want to go to the store right after, running. I just didn't really prefer that, and I have the time to do that. I can make the time to do that. So, if you say you don't have the time, you're probably trying to find time. You have to make the time to meal prep or go for a 30-minute. Because the thing is daily deposits with physical health. It doesn't have to be you have to run a half marathon for lunch and then run an ultra marathon for dinner, then lift 100 pounds. No, it doesn't have to be that extreme. It's just daily deposits of being consistently good and just doing things for where you're at personally. Because you might see person B doing all this other stuff and like, oh, I want to get that 1 point, which you can, and you can, and then some, in your own right. But at the same time, people, like, this goes for everything in life, but especially with physical health, people are impatient. They don't want to wait. They want to get shredded in 30 days. They want to lose weight in an hour, and that leads to unhealthy habits and honestly eating disorders because people, they want to do things the unsustainable route, and they end up doing it the unsustainable route, and they end up, screwing themselves up because they wanted the short fix instead of the long-term game. And like I said, I understand why people have jobs and kids, but at the same time, you have to carve out the time to achieve these things. And it's honestly not much. You can lift maybe even once or twice a week. If you do that consistently and you walk 1 to 3 times a week and you build up, that's a start. We all have to start from somewhere. And the thing is, I feel like with, like earlier I was on Instagram and this page I follow, this dude named Jeffrey Boyady. I think that's how you say his last name. I might have just butchered that. I'm so sorry. But it was a video and this girl explaining microplastics. Now, this is a valid, I think it's valid because, a lot of people use way too much plastic in my opinion. But however, people are hyper fixated on that. And I ain't gonna lie, I've done it before. And I was looking at it. I was looking through her page and I was looking a little bit too long. So I'm like, okay, let me get off here if I worry myself. But there's microplastics in the fish. There's estrogen in tofu, and it's gonna give you man boobs. Like, listen, the main thing we need to get people off of is McDonald's and Burger King every single meal. Now, I'm not saying you can't have that every now and then. If you really want that, that's cool. But like 80% at least of your diet should be whole foods, no matter if you're plant-based like me, no matter if you're pescatarian, no matter if you're an omnivore, no matter if you're a flexitarian. It's all an overarching theme, and then you need to get some type of movement in, no matter if it's biking, running, swimming, rowing, some type of movement in terms of cardio and some type of strength training to reduce the risk of osteoporosis, better cardiovascular health, reduce the risk of all types of disease. So the main thing here, just in terms of making the time, because a lot of people, I understand people are busy. I'm busy a lot of the time too, because I'm recording videos, I'm editing them, I'm doing schoolwork. I understand how it feels to be busy. You're anxious and you feel like you might not have time, but you have to make time for these things. You can't allow the day to run you. You have to run the day. You know what I'm saying? You can't just do spontaneous things and expect life to work. You have to plan things out accordingly to work to your goals, and you can't just be like, oh, I don't have the time. I mean, I feel like everybody has time, but you might have to replace it with something else. You might have to replace it from scrolling on TikTok. You might have to replace it from watching a movie. You can watch a movie here and there, but I feel like your health should come before that. But that's kind of all I wanted to go over here. But the main thing I want to, I guess, hone in on here is playing the long game, making it sustainable, and doing hard things. Obviously, you want to challenge yourself. So that's kind of what I said, where let's say you're strength training 1 to 2 times a week, you're walking 1 to 3 times a week. Obviously, you want to go somewhere. You want to maybe start running, maybe start biking over time. Just the thing is, you don't want to throw too much at yourself. So I think a lot of people, when you throw too much at them, or when they throw too much at themselves, they want to stop because it's a lot at once. But you have to gradually go up. It's not a linear path. You have to gradually add more mileage, or add more walks, or add more strength training sessions to progress and evolve. And honestly, just choosing the best approach that you can stick with consistently, and that's the name of the game. That's the main thing with physical health: playing the long game, making it sustainable, doing hard things, and choosing the best approach that you can stick with consistently. That's the main thing I want to get across there. So physical health, first pillar of optimal health. I kind of forgot what I was even getting across, but first pillar of optimal health. Now, second pillar, and I ain't gonna lie, I think this is the most important one, tied with stress. Well, all of these are very important, but this is one I feel like I've neglected in recent times that I'm starting to realize it really shapes how you feel, even in physical health. Like, your workouts might not feel as good, your training, your walking, just you as a human being, your well-being is gonna feel kind of off. Mental and emotional health. And like I kind of mentioned, I would say this is the pillar alongside stress management, the one that I've been the most naive and ignorant about. And kind of how I mentioned earlier, this year has been the hardest for me in terms of mental and emotional health. Honestly, a close second with 2020 and 2021, but I think and know it's for the better. And even though it can be tough at times, feeling as though you're trapped in your own head, this too shall pass. I've realized that the hard times is very, that's why I wanted to put physical health. I feel like, well, not even the order. I just think they're all so deeply rooted with each other. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like with running, it's going to get hard at some point if you're actually trying. It's going to get hard. And it's the same thing with just daily life. It's going to get hard. It's going to be resistance. It's going to be adversity. So I just think they go hand in hand, because the adaptations of resilience, grit, and perseverance that you experience from training consistently and doing workouts that might seem grueling, or making time to meal prep ahead of time, it carries over perfectly to the mental and emotional side of things. So you need these same qualities and traits to get through these hard times, just involuntary adversity. Maybe you're having a bit more anxiety, or you're stressed out, or maybe you might be worried about what someone else might think, and you have to realize, you have to snap out of it, like, dang, like, this isn't gonna be permanent. This isn't a permanent thing, and this isn't who I am. It's just a stepping stone to who I will be in the future. And you have to take it for what it is and say, what is this doing for me? Not what is this doing to me? What is this doing for me? And I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest, it's gonna be tough. Like, these past few weeks, like, I've been kind of anxious sometimes. I've been kind of uneasy, and it's tough. Like, you really feel like the world's about to end. But in reality, like, this run, like, I had, like, these past few days, like, it really showed me, like, if you're not happy with what you're doing, and your mind is clouded, and you're questioning yourself every single second, and you're really uneasy, you're just kind of on alert, like, you're in a flight response. You're just kind of not miserable, but you're just very uneasy. I think that's the best word. You're just kind of on edge a little bit. It just makes your perception so warped, and it just makes things seem like they're worse than what they are, and it makes a problem out of nothing, when in reality, nothing's wrong. It's just in your head, you think something's wrong. And that's why I think perception is so important. The way you perceive things controls really everything. I think the mind is the most powerful thing. Because if you generally believe you can't, and you generally keep saying you can't, and you generally just think that you can't evolve as a human being, you won't. Because the mind dictates everything. Physical health, obviously, you can be the most genetic freak and have the most endurance and have the highest VO2 max ever. That's very helpful. Obviously, you can build all these miles, but if you don't have the belief or even give yourself the chance to get through it and push through, you're not going to push through. I'm sorry. It doesn't matter. Like, obviously you can fueling and, all this stuff helps, but if you generally don't believe, and there's been a lot of times I didn't believe, and it's just you're unsure. You're uneasy. You're like, you're not really sure. Now, obviously, you're not going to be 100% sure, but at the same time, it's a difference between. I'm going to go back to the superiority and the inferiority complex. I feel like if you're in an inferiority complex, you're like, like this person's better than me and whoop the whoop. You're so hyper focused on this other person that you're not focusing on your own life at all. You're missing out on your own life. And you're so worried about all these things that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things and making issues out of things that don't even exist. So that'll dictate how you view the life. That'll dictate your perception on life, But kind of what I was, really honing on there. If your mind is not right, clouded with anxiety, doubt, fear, which is a very, very, very big one, which I'm going to kind of segue into in this next part. And oh my gosh, English is hard. Let me redo that. And uncertainty, you'll be paralyzed and feel as though you are someone you are not. And I kind of mentioned this before. It's just, if you're fearful and you have anxiety and you're trying to compare yourself to others, I think like a comparison is a very big thing, and it can, take you to a wrong path potentially. It makes you think you're someone you're not, and it makes you downplay, and it makes you kind of hate on yourself a bit. Like, oh, I didn't do this, but this person did this, or I'm doing this and this person doing this. In reality, everyone's different, but the overall grand scheme of things is the same. But anyway, fear is a big emotion, and that's why a lot of people on socials use fear mongering to get a hold of you and manipulate what you personally believe to be true. And if you're scared, whether it's you scaring yourself personally, hyper analyzing life and what life is or whatever, and just hyper analyzing things that haven't even happened yet, you won't think rationally. And I think mental health and emotional health is often a game of rational versus irrational thoughts. It's honestly, I think of it because I've experienced it personally. It's two sides of your head. It's a more rational side and an irrational side, and they're fighting each other because the irrational side is like, oh, you should be scared of this. Oh, worry about this. Oh, what about that? What about that? The rational side worries about anything and exaggerates it and makes it seem like the world's about to end. But the rational side is like, okay, it brings out a little bit of logic. It's like, okay, but what about me? What about what I'm doing? What about this movie I'm about to go see? What about these people I'm about to go run with? And the rational side is like, yeah, that's cool, but like, what about this? What about what this person's doing? The rational side is very spontaneous. It's very unpredictable in a sense. It just keeps worrying about things over and over and over again. And the rational side is just honestly just trying to fight it, So that's kind of how I think about it in terms of mental health, at least me personally. But however, some things you could implement that would help with this that have helped me personally. Journaling is a big one. Like I kind of mentioned in my vlog, I have like a green notebook. I journal in it every day. Like there's a period of time I wasn't journaling, and now that I am, I feel like every morning, like just whatever I'm feeling at that point in time, I just write it down, and it just helps me kind of connect to myself on a personal level and just be aware with how I'm feeling and aware of the thoughts I'm thinking, And therapy, I just got into therapy recently. I think it's very helpful because it helps you, talk to someone new, talk to someone who's skilled in whatever you're dealing with, and just honestly just give you some good advice and some good food for thought on things you can implement, things you can change in your life to, improve it for the better, And then also having other loved ones and close friends to talk to, people that really care about you, not no surface level acquaintances or like people that actually know you and have been with you through, mud, and, people that have seen you, hurt a little bit, people that have really been with you, this one thing I want to advise. I see a lot of people do on the internet. Do not put all your business on the internet. Don't do that. People will use it against you, and no, don't do that. It's just not a good look. Keep it to yourself. Well, don't keep it to yourself. I feel like if you keep it to yourself, you might go a little bit crazy, but talk to people that you really trust and you know are knowledgeable and are gonna keep it 100 with you, and journal it down. Write it down. If it's a whole page, write it down. Just be real with yourself. And honestly, I feel like it's kind of some alone time, just you being with your thoughts and you just enjoying some solitude. But anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to go to for mental and emotional health. But third thing I want to go over is stress management. So I just think if you do not manage your stress, it'll manage you and everything around you. It's all consuming. If you don't control stress, obviously there's going to be moments in your life where you're stressed. Maybe there's a project coming up. You're like, whoa, like, oh my gosh, like I might have to pull an all-nighter. Please don't do that. Don't procrastinate. But anyway, that's a whole nother video. But I just think if stress isn't as balanced as you can be, the main thing with stress isn't to worry about it so much that it worries you even more. But at the same time, you want to implement things like maybe, like for me, sometimes winding down and playing the game, just chilling, or putting your phone on do not disturb so you don't have the temptation to go on the internet and look at things and maybe look at what other people are doing, stuff like that. And I just think if that's not at bay and you don't make time for yourself to de-stress and just relax a bit, not saying be complacent, but relax a bit and take a step back to take some steps forward, it will consume you. Stress is all consuming if you let it compound. But anyway, mental self, what in the world is that? Mental health and stress go hand in hand. And honestly, like I said earlier, all these pillars form a big house, which is you. You're the big house. All of these pillars form together to make what is you in this current space, in this current point of time. And they all build on top of each other. But anyways, stress management is key. If you don't manage it correctly, you'll experience burnout, immense feelings of anxiety, and a warped perception of the life around you. Now, the big thing of English is a hard language, guys. And a big thing out of what I just said is the warped perception of the life around you. And it'll just make you, like I said, it kind of ties together. It just makes you uneasy. And it just, honestly, it kind of makes you kind of a bad person to be around. Because I ain't gonna lie, I've been stressed around people. And my mom can kind of feel vibes. So she'll kind of tell like, yeah, he's a little bit thrown off right now. And honestly, it makes you, the biggest thing that I've noticed, it takes you out of the present moment. Because you're worrying about things that haven't happened yet, hyper-analyzing problems that are in the back of your head that you haven't really found the courage to answer yet. Just anything. It takes things and it spins it over and over again, and you're not in the present moment. You're not enjoying the movie you're watching. You're not enjoying the game you're playing. You're not enjoying the walk you're on. I feel like a lot of times, like, I ain't gonna lie, I've experienced this personally, and I just feel like this is a good add-on with stress. When you're on social media and like you post a video, when I post a video, like at least recently, I'd post it, and in the morning, I ain't gonna lie, I low-key want to check, and I'd be like, yo, did someone comment something? Yo, how is the video doing? Like, how's the likes doing? Like, and honestly, I just feel like that's me being stressed over someone else's opinion, like low-key. In reality, it doesn't really matter. Like, obviously, there's constructive criticism that you might want to listen to, but at the end of the day, if you're not okay with the way you're living, and honestly, I saw this thing on an Instagram. Shout out to Jeffrey B. I'm not gonna say his last name because I'm not gonna cook his last name. I'm sorry, but it was a post, and he was saying someone was asking. The question was a Q&A, and he was asking, "Has anyone made fun of you for being plant-based or whatever?" And he said no, but he was saying like, why would you care over someone who has 0.00001 effect over your life? And I'm like, you're right. Like, why would I? Like, obviously, I'll probably still care here and there. Well, I don't really care. It's just a thought, just kind of like, because if you're a content creator, I feel like every content creator kind of thinks they're like, oh, how's the video doing? Whoop the whoop or whatever. Like, what's the comments looking like or whatever. You just kind of see. But at the same time, that time's for you in the morning, at least for me. That time's for me in the morning to go for my run, go for my lift, go for my walk or whatever I'm doing, or get some work done or whatever. It's not time to worry about, or really the whole day worry about what person X said or how the videos do. I mean, the video will do how it does, and it happens for a reason. But the main thing he was saying is, why are you worried about what someone's thinking when they literally have no effect on your life at all? Like, they don't know you personally. They don't see what you eat. They don't see how you train. They don't see how you treat other people. So why should you care? And I think, like, now that I'm saying it, like, that's really true. Like, because the thing is, I feel like a lot of times people give people advice and they don't really practice what they preach a lot of times. And honestly, I want to do that. I practice a lot what I preach, but at the same time, like in terms of that, like bro, that's real. Like these people don't know you, so like why are you giving in to what they think? But I just think a big thing in society, like I've mentioned in previous podcasts and even in this one, is just the norm of going and going and going. Honestly, a lot of people praise this, like, oh, no days off and blah, blah, blah. Which, I mean, consistency is great. You should always be consistent. But at the same time, like taking a rest day, pulling back or going on vacation or, taking just a breather, to keep going, like taking two steps back, say 3 steps forward, that on the whole analogy. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think it's recommended because I feel like if you just keep going and you're, keep hitting this axe on this thing of wood, it's going to become dull. You have to sharpen your axe and take times to really dive deep into yourself and evolve and, add more quality to yourself, add more character and add add more adaptations, and endure more adaptations over time. And like I said, it's great and required to get after it and be ambitious and be courageous, but not to the expense of your own mental, physical health and well-being. And I feel like I missed the mark on this. I'll say I'm very ambitious, so I'll just keep going. And a lot of people are like this, like I've just seen on the internet. Let's keep going and keep going and keep going, and then they get to a point where something flares up, like maybe an injury or something is going wrong, and they're like, you put your head down, just chopping wood or whatever, and you look up and you're like, oh, like I neglected all that time to spend with other people. I neglected all the stuff, and look where I am now. So I just think these times aren't to be complacent, but at the same time, it's time to reflect and time to refine and time to adapt and keep evolving and just be one for yourself. And it's kind of like a self-assessment of where you're at and how you feel at that point in time and things that you need to deal with. Because I feel like we all have problems we want to deal with, and we might lack the courage to, because a lot of these things that we might deal with is scary. That's like I said earlier, fear is a strong emotion, and that's why a lot of, I guess dictators in the past would use fear, because fear is a very strong emotion. If you're fearful and you're scared, you might swing a whole different way in an ideology, or you might swing a whole different way in an idea or how you live your life. So I just think we have to make decisions more not out of fear, but more out of just betterment and, positivity, and just honestly just seeking adaptation and seeking what life can do for us, not to us, So just making time for yourself to unwind, relax, maybe even just, like I said, play the game or listen to music is so important. And if you never have time to yourself, you can never get into the things that are in your life that are potentially holding you back and that are real issues and problems that you've been setting to the side. But fourth thing I want to go over, second to last thing, is social health. And, this is just having people that are on similar paths and share similar morals and values to you, which is very, very key and very important. And I think this is a big thing. If you and said person don't, wait, I don't even know what I wrote, dude. Hold on. Let me run it back. If you and said person or people don't, I don't even know what I meant here. I'm not going to hold you. We just going to paraphrase this. Basically, what I tried to say, even though I was speaking mumbo jumbo, if you and two people don't align, there'll be a stark disconnect and misalignment between the two parties, which is you and said person or you and said group or whatever, which will neither benefit you or the other person in the long run. I think a lot of people, me included, like when I was younger, I was in friend groups of people that, might lie or gossip or just be I guess, ignorant and belligerent. And honestly, as I've gotten older, like I don't really align with any of that. Like I don't like gossiping. I don't like talking about other people. I don't like lying, So like for me, those are my values, like integrity, staying consistent, having a standard, being having gratitude, stuff like that. Like that's some of the morals and values I have. And if person X doesn't have that, we probably won't align in the long run. Now, obviously everyone's different, but at the same time, I feel like with you and loved ones, obviously your family, you can't really change that, and you shouldn't, that's your family, and you have to do with that what you will. Oh my gosh, English so hard. Do with that what you will, but at the same time with friends, you have to choose them wisely, because at the same time, people always say you are who you hang around. And obviously, yeah, if people are stealing and, doing stuff and, they might be peer pressuring you, you might get into a situation you don't want to be in. So I think the main thing here I want to get into is just having fun, spending quality time with those you love and who support you dearly, laughing, making jokes, making memories. And these are the things that really stick. And these are the things that really make a dent in your legacy and who you will be remembered as. And honestly, the main thing here that I want to get across to you and me, really, a lot of times I forget this. The one thing I realized is people won't mainly remember you for your accolades, how you ate, how much you worked, how much you trained, which obviously this may be some factors, but the main thing they'll remember you for is how you made them feel, how you influenced them, your character, your attitude, and the person you truly were deep down. Honestly, really your character. That's what people will remember, and how you influenced them and the impact you had on them as a human being. Now, obviously, the way you eat and the way you train, subjective to you, is very important, but at the same time, it's not the end all be all. That's not what people are going to remember you for. That's not when people are going to remember when they say your name when you pass or whatever. It's going to be the influence and the impact you had on the world and them, and the way you made them feel, the way you helped them evolve, and the way you supported them, and the love you showed. It's not going to be so much your pride and your ego and things along the lines of that are involved. It's going to be who you were, and the impact you made on the world. But social health, I think it's important just to, hang out with people that you love and then laugh and just have fun and just make core memories and have a lot of lore. Like me and my friend Ant, like, bro, when we have kids, we're gonna have so much lore to tell our kids, because we've just done so much stuff and had so many stupid insides. We still do to this day. Like, it was, this is kind of off topic, but if y'all want to laugh, like, you should look up Boosie. If y'all know who Boosie is, I don't know where you've been, but he made a What the Helly remix, and I showed it to my mom. I'm not gonna lie, be warned is very interesting, to say the least. So make sure you wear headphones when you listen to that. Don't play that in front of your mom. She might slap you. But I played it for my mom, and Aunt sent it to me. I ain't gonna lie. If you want to laugh, please watch that. I'll just laugh and think about it. That joke's hilarious. Please watch that. I don't even know if you dropped that, bro, but that's hilarious. But anyway, fifth thing, like I said, I don't really have as much as this, because I'm kind of still, I guess, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not actively learning about this right now, but I would say recently I've just, I've prayed a bit, and, I've just been, just kind of asking God and just, the higher power, for signs, and just, just kind of help with, just stuff I've been dealing with, and just, just, I guess reassurance. Just, just, I feel like when you put your faith into something, you put hope, and honestly, you take yourself off of a pedestal, because I think a lot of people might try and do that, and you realize that there's something bigger than you that, I feel like, because the thing is, I've always thought personally, now I won't veer into this for too long, but I think, like, the trees out there and the cars and all of this, and just me talking to you right now, this wasn't by coincidence. I don't think it was. I think something or some spirit, because me personally, I don't think God is a white man in jandals and a robe. I just don't think that. I'm so sorry. You cannot convince me. That's my personal belief. If you disagree, that's fine. But I think God is more of a spirit, an entity. It's not really, it doesn't have a race. I think it could transform into any type of race. It could turn black. It could turn white. It could turn Asian. It could turn whatever. It could be a woman. It could be a male. It could be whatever it wanted it to be. But I think at its base, it's a spirit. It's just a being. It's not necessarily a white man or a black man. That's my personal belief. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. But I think it created all of this. And I'm not saying, I don't really believe in destiny. Well, kind of. I think everybody has a purpose. What is a purpose? A purpose, but I don't think everybody has like a fate. I think you can, because some people some people might think, oh, my fate's already, set in stone. I think you can make your own decisions. I feel like we all have free will within a sense, but at the same time, I feel like there is an upper echelon of a being that put all this into stone and kind of knows what's going to happen in the future. That's kind of how I think about spirituality. But I think no matter if you're Christian, Muslim, or do not subscribe to a specific religion and believe in higher power, I think that all these different ideas and religions share the same theme and purpose. I think because a lot of people, even with like diet tribes and stuff, they might, oh, my diet's better than yours, my religion's better than yours. I feel like it's all the same thing. Y'all can all worship similar beings the same way. It doesn't have to be fighting and discourse over it. You can, subscribe to your religion. This person can as well. And they can both have faith and have joy within that. It doesn't have to be clashing and butting heads over it. Same thing with like diet tribes. Vegans and carnivores be having freaking dog fights on the internet. Like, first of all, how do you have the time to do that? Second of all, why are you so invested? Like, I know some vegans are like ethical. Cause like someone asked me today, like, oh, are you like, do you like, would you crash out if someone's like, he didn't say crash out, but I'm just like kind of paraphrasing it. Would you crash out if like people around you eat meat? Like, bro, I live in a house full of meat eaters. I really don't care. I don't care. I really don't. Like, I'm not one of those ethical vegans that's like signed with PETA that's gonna go knocking at people's doors. Oh, stop eating cows, save the cat. Like, that's great and all. Like, I respect that, but like me personally, no. But I just think like with diet tribes, pescatarians and whoop the whoop, like they just be fighting. Like, bro, like we can all, the main thing with just life in general, I think people need to eat healthier. Obviously, people need to move more and people need to stress less. That's the main three things. And just be consistently good. That's the main four things people should do to improve their life. And then we can start getting into the intricacies of things. I think we have to make it very understandable for people so they can even get into it. But I'm gonna end it with this and kind of let y'all go. But the overarching purpose of religion, in my opinion, is the belief in something greater than yourself, a belief and hope that something is placing these obstacles and gifts in your life as a learning experience. Basically just seeing what life can do for you, not against you. It's not, obviously it might seem like life is trying to just jump you and roundhouse kick you, but I think it's all for a purpose and it's all for the greater good of you and society as a whole. But anyway, a little bit of all my podcasts have been very long recently. I just feel like I really want to convey my message, and honestly, I feel like it's kind of low key a therapy session for, like, I don't know, like I just just trying to just talk. I don't know. It's a podcast, duh. But anyway, that was the 5 pillars of health and some tips on how to optimize them and prioritize them. And the main thing I want to just leave y'all with is honestly just laugh a little, like have fun, but obviously do hard things, be consistent, but don't be so all consumed to the point where it takes away from your life and it takes away from opportunities you could have had that made memories that really stick, and people aren't going to remember you for how hard